listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio After Dark with our host, Gary Anderson.
And we are back with James and Ryan.
Yes, sir.
Well, let's continue on, guys. Don't be quiet.
I thought Ryan was going to report in. We lost him. Are you still there, Ryan?
I'm good. I'm here.
Okay, good. Yeah, so there's a lot going on out there. Again, just information. I think there's people out there that purposely just do that. I don't know how far it's really thrown people off. And then there's all these hoaxes. And Lord knows, Gary, you touched on that with several people that's out there with all these videos. And I swear, when I see YouTube videos come on, I cringe because I swear 9 out of 10 of them are bogus.
Oh, you're so much said. It's so accurate.
You know what I love nowadays? You know, you got so much technology. I love all the new cases that are popping up, and even I'm talking about ones from the '60s and '70s where people are all of a sudden finding photos of UFOs and stuff like that. Like, for instance, the other day, a reliable source posted one on Facebook, and it was from 1961. And it was a photo of a UFO over the ocean. And, I mean, you can tell, to me, you can tell the photo wasn't messed with. It's an original photo. I mean, but it was just amazing. You can actually see what this UFO looked like. And, nowadays, even in, this, with all this technology, you can barely get a good photo of a UFO. But meanwhile, they're digging up, decent photos of what, older UFOs look like. And I think that's just fascinating and actually adds a little bit more to the topic.
Oh, it does. Do you realize back before digital, their idea, or the idea to manipulate a photo, is you would sandwich 2 negatives or 3 negatives together, or you would sit there and airbrush something in or out, which you could always tell it was done. Digital nowadays, it makes it harder. But have you ever noticed, we talked about this before, James, you see, remember those magazines where here's this skinny woman and here's this fat woman, and they go on buy these diet pills, and this is what they look like before and now, and then you really look at the pictures. Yeah. Why are they always out of focus? The before and the after is always in focus. And you mentioned one time you noticed a tattoo. It wasn't on one of the pictures one time, if I remember right.
Yeah, the lady lost so much weight, she lost her tattoo as well. It was amazing, It was mind-blowing. That was a real good diet, let me tell you. But there's some, and speaking of what you're talking about, Gary, how many people have we come across, and Gary, the last couple of years, that somebody's old picture looks like they're 30, but then when they talk, they sound like they're 75 or 80, and you do a little research, and holy moly, Batman, they're like something going on there with these apps. You can get apps now that really, they look real. And it looks like you're 30 years old when you could be 74 or 5.
Oh, yeah.
I've got them.
They are so good. A lot of the movies being made are using that now. So, I can't remember what movie it was, but one of the actors had short hair. And we're going back into the nighttime, the Knights of Armor, and they had to put long hair on them. Instead of wearing the wig, it was all digitally done. But even the movement of the hair, and it was so accurate, it looked so real. Even the woman actress that played his part, the opposite of him, same way. It was done digitally. That's how far technology has gotten. So nowadays, people are good. They're really good. But again, you hear really, these pictures are we so naive that these people getting these UFO videos and putting them up on Facebook and YouTube, regardless, the dead giveaway is, you can tell it, hey, looks real till you look at it and you study it and you realize it was dropped in. But they're so naive. But you know what? You get a certain amount of the population that believes it.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you do. And, the same goes with Bigfoot. Just recently, right where I live in my area, there's been a guy that he videoed Bigfoot several times in one day, in one spot, one park, throughout the day. Now, that is amazing. I've been looking for this guy for 40 years and accidentally seen him one time when I wasn't looking for him. So, I mean, and he's seen him, I think it was like 5 or 6 times that one day throughout the day in the same place, different locations in the place. And, you know, there's so much of that out there, but you can tell, you can tell when somebody's got a suit on, and it blows my mind that people go to the trouble to even do all this. And then the same guy was so lucky he found a Bigfoot tooth a few days later.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I think that one of the best Bigfoot photos I've ever seen was the one from Australia. Matter of fact, Gary, I'll send it to you right now. But it's from back in 1931 or 1937, and it's a guy. I don't know if you've seen it, James or Gary. It's a guy sitting on a log, and in the background, you can see this big, huge, muscular object sitting behind him. And at the time, they didn't see it then. But, you know, when he got the photo done, and this is exactly, I think they were looking for something different, but this is, you know, they had heard that the Yowie was out there. That's they got Bigfoot over there. But yeah, I mean, it's stuff like that just, you know, it blows your mind. And then the stuff you see now, like James said, you know, this guy's seeing the same thing. You know what I mean?
I don't know.
Or okay, sorry, Gary.
I don't know. Now, I got to ask a question out here real quick. We have Dreamland out there. We have Barb out there. Have either one of you guys seen a UFO or a Bigfoot or any cryptic? I just am curious, in your whole lifetime, have you ever seen anything that you couldn't account for? You can just type it on chat and I'll read it. But, you know, I don't know. I get frustrated on the subject, you know that, because I've had so many guests on the show that I don't know. They're very frustrating, some of the stories they tell. You can always tell when you have a legitimate guest on because their stories never waver. You know, again, I'm going to mention Terry Lovelace and a few other people have been on the show numerous times, and their story never changes. Then I had some of these famous people on it, wrote books, and is very popular doing the UFO circuit on all these talk shows. But each time I've had them on the show, their story kind of wavers and changes a little. And they get more embellished each time they tell it.
Yep. Oh, yeah, you don't know if they're just like struggling to remember and then, you know, putting the puzzle pieces together at that point, you know what I mean? But yeah, it stinks definitely when it happens. And also, you know, the field takes a hit too, you know?
It does. But you know what I do? And I don't know if you guys realize that. If I bring on like Calvin Parker, or if I bring on Timothy Cullen, or I bring on Terry Lovelace, or any of the other ones that, you know, had been abducted or a UFO encounter, and they've been on my show numerous times, you know what I do? I listen to the complete shows when I interviewed them before, and I take key notes down. And then I make sure when they come back on, I kind of change the question a little bit, but I ask them the same question again. And those three I've never had any problems with. It's been some of the other ones where they come out and really, really embellish it, like Dave, and I'm not going to mention his last name, and a couple other ones that, yeah, they have their basic story, but it gets embellished because I don't know why. Either it happened or it didn't happen.
Yeah, there's probably money involved in it or something. You need to, you know, make it more interesting over time or something, which is untrue. You really don't. You know, I always say if you tell the truth, you don't have to remember what you say. But I will say this. When I first heard Terry's story way back, I literally was like, I felt the chills go up my spine. You know, when he told the part about where he's on that conveyor belt and he's totally naked holding his clothes and he can't move nothing but his eyeballs. And all he can hear is dozens of people yelling in terror and moaning in pain. Yeah. And he's on a conveyor belt, Gary, and at the end of that conveyor belt is a cold metal table with people on it getting experimented on in severe pain. And he knows he's going to be there, and nothing he can do to stop it. He goes by this big tube, and there's some kind of hybrid in there, and it opens his eyes and looks at him. You know, as he's about to get on that table himself, and there's no going back. It's like going down. It's like skiing down a mountain, and you can't stop. You're going to have to go through it.
don't forget too that hybrid he saw. There was a wall full of them. You know what I mean? Like that's the crazy part too. I mean, there was other things there. I mean, stuff he couldn't even explain. Like he didn't even know what he couldn't even put words to what these things were. Like, and that's another creepy part too. Matter of fact, when I was reading that part there, I was just trying to picture that so much. What would that be like to see that? And also too, what got me was the sound of the craft when it came in. When he was describing it, I was trying to make it in my head. I wonder what that sounds like. And I created a sound that was actually terrifying to me. And I created it just from his words, but. Yeah, it's amazing to put yourself in their footsteps.
Well, like he was saying, when it landed and he looked out of the tent and he saw like little children, and then he realized those little children were not little children, they were aliens. And he said the sound of it sounded, like if you have a diesel train and it's come to a stop, and it's idling, that's the sound it was making. Could you imagine how scary that would be at night?
Exactly. I just picture the bass just bouncing off of your chest, and you're just, you're already dumbfounded at what you're looking at, because why would they be? And matter of fact, he said to Toby, why are there kids out here? And Toby was like, they're not kids.
Yeah.
And that's when it hit him. He was like, oh my gosh.
But look at this. They were out there, right? And when the thing started getting close by, all of a sudden they got really tired. And Toby, goes into the sleeping bag, doesn't even take his boots off or nothing. He just lays in there and poof, he's out. And Terry.
Matter of fact,
Gary, I got to ask you a question. Just curious. In your experience with that in the desert that time when you're GTO, is there anything in today's life that will remind you or make you think of that or trigger that memory that something that in day-to-day life today?
Well, what'll do it is bright light. Sometimes if I get in a situation where there's a flash of a light, for example. Now, not since June, I can say that because I've been confined here, but if there was a flash of light or something, it automatically brings it back to me. There's a lot of this story I haven't talked because I don't want people to think, oh, God, he saw a Bigfoot, then he saw a UFO in his life. Well, those are the two things I have seen in my life. And neither one of them I want to ever talk about. But I can tell you, all I remember is that light was bright, and I didn't hear a sound. But I didn't wear a watch. I don't know if I was taking a board or not taking a board. I can honestly tell you both, okay, that I had to go in and have years later an MRI done. And I had to be going into that machine. It sounded like a jackhammer. Yep. And then I go to the doctor's office to get my results and find out if I'm going to have surgery. And the very first thing, I walk in there and the head nurse says, well, hi, Gary. Hey, I got to ask you a question. Did you have surgery up near your spine? No. Well, you got something there next to your spine. That freaked me out. First thing in my mind is they're mixing me up with somebody else. So I go wait in the doctor's, room. He comes in there, and first thing he goes, well, look in this x-ray. He shows me the x-ray, or not x-ray, but the whatever the thing is on the thing. He goes, look at this. When did you have surgery? I said, I had my tailbone put together when it was shattered, when I was in the military. But nothing on my back, upper back,